Okay, great. I have Joe Policastro here, co-founder of Cycle CPA, and today we're interviewing Joshua Gillow. Hi, Josh. How are you?
I'm doing well. Carla, how you doing?
Doing good. Where are you joining us from?
Oh, sunny Pennsylvania.
Nice.
What I say with a really forced smile because it's almost spring, and the just got to keep thinking that sun is warmer every day, longer too.
Oh yeah, same here in New York. We're practically neighbors, right? So
Yes.
similar weather, but so excited to have you on, Joshua. I know you've been in the industry for 25 years or so. So if you don't mind, telling me a little bit about how you got into the industry.
Absolutely. So it's all my mother's fault. I got to blame her every time, right? So when I was around 5 years old, my mother loved to raise plants. That was always her thing. And she had a windowsill in our house that she would raise stuff. And she eventually rotted it out. One of those bow windows. She rotted it out. So my father's like, I'm going to build you a greenhouse. So she built her a little greenhouse and started raising plants, had tons of extras, started to sell them to people. And the whole garden center started, then, and that's, almost 38 years ago. And I grew up in that model, in the garden center, from one little, Quonset hut style greenhouse to an operation with over 12 greenhouses. And, it was great to see that business grow and help it grow and be there and work in it. And I like to tell the story often of that little red wagon that I'd go around into the fields because we're out in the middle of nowhere in the cornfields of Pennsylvania. So I'd go around and I'd find really cool rocks like quartzite and things like that. And then I'd bring them up to my parents' customers and I'd sell them for like a nickel. So I was like, damn, I'm making
Wow.
money, at 5 years old. That's fun, right? So I
Entrepreneur from the
connect.
start.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, I was like, well, all right. Then I actually graduated into potting up tiger lilies along the road. I could get a whole dollar for them. So anyway, I was like that. I guess that's where it all started. And,
Yeah.
throughout that career, all the way up through, we lived, grew up there till I was about 18 or so, 19. And just helping clients, connecting with the right plants or the right fish or the right materials or the right whatever. Was all part of it. So I learned early on that sales wasn't about selling people things. It's about connecting them to the right solution. So that's something I learned very valuable back in those days. Yeah.
Very nice. Awesome. And I know that, you do a lot of great things with people within the industry here in regard to sales and, helping them with the sales process and the approach there with Yes Express. And I guess, we're sitting here, it's March 10th. Um, we got this spring rush here coming, and what are some things that you see now? Some problems that people are facing, and maybe some things that they're doing to, kind of approach that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Great question. I want to back up just a little bit so I can put this in the context. After being in the garden center for so long, started a landscape design build company, did that with the family for 15 years. Learned a lot, cut my teeth in the industry that way, and learned a lot of good things and a lot of things I shouldn't do, right? A lot of black eyes and broken bones, but you figured out along the way, when you start a business and you get that EIN number from the government, they don't exactly teach you a lot of stuff. They just say, go ahead, make some tax dollars. They don't really give you any kind of training, right? So you got to figure it out. And in those days, I was more of an island when it came to, like, you don't talk to people about stuff. You're a guy, you figure things out on your own. And I learned the very hard way that is the longest path to take. But I guess as I got older, I got wiser. Anyway, 11 years ago, I left a family company and started Master Plan, which is my current design manage firm, where we design and manage the installation of outdoor living space all over Eastern Pennsylvania. We've been very blessed to be able to do a lot of really cool stuff. So to now answer your question, we struggle with a lot of the same stuff that the rest of the people in the industry do. We've fixed a lot of those things to make them less painful. But one thing that I see each spring, a lot of companies, at least something that I noticed when I was much younger, is that each year it felt like we were starting a new business. And here's what I mean by that, right? In the spring, You make lots of money. People are giving you deposits. There's lots of good stuff going on. You've got just like the bank is growing and growing and growing. You're waiting. You've got a backlog of work. You just see the numbers. Pretty soon they go from 5 figures to 6 figures to possibly even 7 figures and cash in the bank. And you're like, holy crap, I'm rich. This is amazing. Right. And then comes middle of summer and you have to start taking some of that asset and you have to start paying off some of the bills that come with those projects, right? All the materials and the labor and all the taxes, all that stuff, right? Then you go in the fall and it's the harvest time where you're like, wow, this is amazing. I love that we made so much money this year. There's some that stayed in the business. And then comes winter. And, it was one of those things that, all right, winter, we have enough to get through the winter this year, right? It was just enough to get through and you thought you had enough. And then the tax man comes right around the 15th and he takes his first slug. Oh, and he wants 2 of them at that point for your estimated next year, right? So anyway, it was this constant cycle of starting a new business. You'd go back to the spring, you would have no money, then you'd get more by new deposits and you go all the way back through and down in the winter. And we never plowed snow. That was never our thing. So it was this constant cycle. So that was something to break that cycle by creating work in Pennsylvania year round. That was one of the things that we had to do. And we did that and perfected it. And it's been working really, really well without plowing snow. We do that by working above ground, building structures, decks, roof systems, things like that extend that winter build time, which is great. We're still doing pavers in the winter too with open aggregate bases and things. So we really don't get stopped in the winter, which is really cool. That's one major thing that I see is the ebb and flow of the work cycle in our business. And that directly impacts how big your business can scale. Because if you're stuck to a 6 or 9 month window, that really limits you versus having a 10 or 11 or 12 month window for that. Another big problem in the spring, we find phone starts ringing and you're excited and hungry because it's been a long winter. So you start racing out to every single lead that comes in because, well, the way I used to think at least is, man, with my award-winning personality, I get out there, all I gotta do is get in front of them, right? I'll be able to sell them something. Yeah, I was very wrong. I waste a lot of time running out to people that I thought were going to be good leads that were absolutely not our ideal clients. And it started, I was thinking more about transactions. How fast can I get a transaction through than focusing on the transformation that I should have been thinking about with their lives and their properties. Yeah. So once I made that switch, then that was a huge difference because now I was more concerned about who I was working with, not how much they had.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, I know, so when it comes to weeding out some of the bad leads and I guess, trying to prevent the situation of you even going to the property, do you have any ways to kind of combat that and, try to prevent those situations from even happening, from you even going out to the property?
100%. Yeah. I mean, think about it, especially with gas prices right now. Imagine all the driving back and forth. Actually, first, Joe, the industry average for closing projects in our industry average, now this isn't everybody, it's 25 to 30% closing rate. So imagine if you go out to 4 leads, the average person brings home 1 as a client, right? That means 3 of them they wasted their time on. Imagine if they could take all of those time they wasted with the 3 and put it into that 1. How much better would your relationship be? How much more could you service and help those people if you weren't so scattered going everywhere trying to make everybody happy? So the first thing you have to deal with or manage or understand is this whole concept of yes management. Knowing who the right person is to go out and meet with and who to say no to. And the only way that happens is by a process, right? A formula that we can figure out that ahead of time. Certain people are going to be ideal for your company and certain ones are not. And you have to accept that in the beginning and be willing to tell them no, but not say no, get the hell out of here. I can't help you. Nobody wants to do that. They don't want the bad reviews and all that. But how do you give them what we call the graceful exit, right? How do you let them go gracefully and give them wind in their sails so they can go back and think about how much you help them in their journey? That's the way I like to see it. So, a client might call up, our company and Becky in the front line should be like, if they sound like a client that's not going to be a great fit for us, instead of just saying no, click, or don't respond at all because they don't seem like they would be a good fit. That's not nice either. So how do you do that? So what we do, we call it Graceful Exit. And we simply say, Mrs. Jones, I totally understand. Your project sounds really great, but to be quite honest with you, we aren't really set up to do this kind of thing exactly the way you need, somebody that you need to do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to suggest that you work directly with a a mason, a landscaper, whatever, fill in the blank that you aren't, because they're going to give you the best solution. We found over the last 25 years in business that that's really what our clients want, is the best solution. We may not be that, and it's okay. So here, I have a number here for George. He's fantastic at masonry. He would be your guy to call. And if you don't have that, you can simply say, go to Angie's List or House or one of these other, third parties, and try to find somebody there. But I wish you very best, luck in your journey, and thank you for reaching out to us. Being able to just do that. And the crazy part is, guys, when the team does this, we actually get referrals from those people. Because think about it, because you told them no, you didn't just save your time, you also saved the homeowner's time too. And they're not out to piss their time away either, right? Imagine if you come out and you can't service them, but you came out anyway, they wasted all that time too. They could have had the right person there. So we're helping both sides this way. And the clients see that as a value. They see it as, oh goodness, this is amazing. All I want is the best solution for me. Because the number one question that every human is running through their mind 24 hours a day, 7 days a week from the time they're born till they die is, what's in it for me? It's that simple. We're self-serving creatures. I don't care what religion you are, with ethnicity, it doesn't matter. What's in it for me? So if we can answer that question quickly and help those people throughout, instead of it being us, and be like, hey, here, what's in it for me? I have the right solution for you. Go talk to George. He's going to help you out.
Yes, I love that. Yeah. I think that when you determine your ideal, client, or, what your mission is for your company, you take away a lot of those, questions that you may ask yourself, whether it's okay or not to take on this client, whether you're equipped for that, whether they're willing to pay the price that, you need to have in order to be profitable. And so, no, I love it. What are some other, struggles that you see when business owners that they face with their clients?
Number one, price. The number one driver that dictates what a contractor or professional will charge a client, it all rolls back on how much they value themselves. Let's be honest. If you don't trust your ability, you're going to charge low. If you're really cocky, like you're damn good at this, you're going to charge higher. All of it's in confidence in you. It's not the market. The market will handle what the market will demand and handle. Right now, it's better than it's ever been. People have no idea what is the right number anymore, customers that is, because things are changing daily. We're getting dings all the time for new aluminum surcharges and pavers and all kinds of stuff is all over the place. So this is a perfect time to reset your standard. Get the training, get the knowledge you need to become more confident inside of you. And then you can charge whatever you want, as long as you're doing good work. Of course, that's a kind of a primer there, but it's all about how much confidence you have in yourself and how much you value you. It's that simple. Work on you first, and then your prices, you'll be able to raise your prices in your ceiling and be able to make a lot more money with your same time.
It's very true. That's what we see with our clients. It's like the most profitable clients. It's because they have that confidence. I see it. You're exactly right to be able to price what they feel that they deserve. And like you said, it comes along with the quality of work that they are performing.
Yeah, no doubt. But if you have a self-worth, like what you're doing, right, and you set the bar high enough because you know who your ideal, hell yes, we call them clients are, and you are attracting them through your marketing and through your sales process and all of that, and you're able to call them out and pull them up front, they will always pay you what you're worth. They will love your designs. They will love your installation. They will love your team, all of that stuff, because you're dealing with the right people. I, for years, thought that I just needed to sell stuff, right? And what I realized, I'm the worst freaking salesman you ever met. I suck at it. You know why? Because I hate selling people stuff. But what I love to do is I love helping them buy their dreams. That's what we teach. Yes Express. That's why we started Yes Express, is to teach people how to do that. Because most people aren't born salespeople. When they start watching these little videos on YouTube or reading the books or going to the Grant Cardone seminars and that kind of stuff, it's all about rah, 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 buy from me, buy from me. Oh, your wife's not here? No big deal. What would she say if she was? Oh, you don't have the money? No big deal. Go into debt, right? It's slimy. Like, that's why salespeople have a hard time selling, because it's not authentic. You're not helping. But when you come from the helping side and you help people buy their dreams, the trust factor increases, exponentially. Next thing you know, you're doing projects like you never knew you're going to do before, and you see the impact into people's lives because you could use passion instead of some kind of trickery to get them to come on board with you. Like, you use passion to come up with the best solution for them, and you throw the shit out that they're not going to use. Don't try to sell them things they don't need. Don't talk about fire pits when you know they're not going to burn a damn thing, but you think, oh, you know what, there's an extra $5,000. Why not spin that around, augment the reality, and tell them, hey, don't spend $5,000 on a fire pit. Spend $2,000 on a fire table. This way you can move it around that patio or that deck, and you can move the lounge space in different spots, or move it off for a party, move it on, and then switch it out every couple of years. You save your people money. You become the guide, not the hero. Guide them. That's all they're looking for. They're looking for guides that actually care. And then you're not going to have to worry about what things cost, because people will pay whatever you ask for at that point, within reason.
Absolutely. And I think that just coming from the approach and from what it sounds like, Joshua, in what you're saying, and I'm taking notes here, really kind of taking the approach of you're there to help them, whether it's actually performing the job or, acting in their best interest and referring them to someone that should actually be doing that job. So, I think that's a really interesting switch in, thinking, especially with some of the more traditional and old fashioned ways of how a salesperson may be perceived. Now, as the owner, maybe someone has even reached out to you, Joshua, and you've helped them with the whole sales process. They're really knocking it out of the park. How does this person then go and train another future salesperson, that they're going to bring onto their team? What are some things that, how do you, as the owner or as the leader within the sales division, how do you scale that?
Yeah, that's a great question. The hardest part that most business owners have is when they first start out, they wear every hat. I did. I've started multiple businesses, and I tell you, every time you start out, you have lots of hats on. You got to do sales. You got to do marketing. You've got to do all the accounting and the booking. Like, you just start out with everything and you get bogged down. Some people never leave that area. They think that's what business is. They own their job and their boss is an idiot. Right. So that's just what it is. That's how I was for a long time. I'm not making fun of people. That's how I was. That was me. But when I realized you start handing those hats off and you start saying, all right, well, for like you guys, CPA, it's like, all right, good. You guys, you do the books. I make the money. You figure out where it goes. You just tell me how much I got to send to who. I sign checks. It's simple. Next, I get my lane and I just ride that lane. Right. And other things like marketing. All right, I know somebody that's really good at that. Boom, that's your job. Here's your responsibility. Let's keep moving. Right. And you just keep segregating, pushing those things off of your plate so you can get in your lane. And some people are born as or fall in love with being the skilled artist, the one that produces the work, the one out there building the patios and building the water features. That's freaking amazing. If that's who you are, live it, enjoy it, just be it, stay in that lane. If you're more the entrepreneur, somebody who's the visionary, the one that looks out across the ship and looks for, if there's any lighthouses coming or there's any clouds in the distance for storms, and that's you, get in that lane and get rid of everything else. And if you're one of the, if you're a leader or a manager that manages artists, get in that lane, dude. Like, just own your lane and move everything else out of your way so you can be the best you. Because when you do that, you can actually start doing, to your question, you can start saying, all right, well, you know what? Sales is great, but how the heck, as the owner, am I going to take me and multiply me, right? I'm the one so far that got the company to here. How am I going to get George to talk like me, act like me, and have the same decisions that I would normally make? How do we do that?
Yeah.
It's one of the biggest fears, right? That's why most people don't do it, because they're scared to death of it. Here's the secret. Systems, processes. I know it scares the hell out of some people because it sounds boring as heck. And you guys are CPAs, so you understand this stuff. But most business owners, you say that and they're like,
we're speaking the same language now, Joshua.
That's not going to work for me. Like, I don't like to be held in a box. I don't want handcuffs on my hands every day. I don't want to have to do it like he does it. I want to do it my way. Okay, totally get it. But what you got to realize, systems and processes can be developed by you. They could be your systems and processes that you just lay out in a framework that you can hand George and then train George on how to do it. And pretty soon he's doing what you would do. And you know what? You might be surprised that George is a hell of a lot smarter than you. And he's faster and more efficient. So that's where you're going to have to suck up your ego and realize that maybe you aren't everything to everybody. And once that humility kicks in, that's when you can start growing, because you realize there's people that are much better at things than you are. You better put them in the position and let them shine. Let them shine. That's what it's all about. So as far as how do you get the sales team out, first of all, you need a process. And you can spend 25 years and try to figure it out yourself, or for me, it's over 20, trying to figure it out yourself. Or you can hire someone that has it figured out already, and they can teach you and train you in a few weeks. You can bring your sales team in, train them in a few weeks too. And if you get a new salesperson, send them through the course. A couple of weeks later, you pump them out. You've got another salesperson, and they're going to say the same thing because it's a process, right? It's a structured conversation. So, and the thing is, when I say that, I don't mean it like a script where you're going to have to be a robot and you're going to sound like me. I don't want you to sound like me. It doesn't make any sense. You got to sound like you, but there's a certain framework, a certain cadence in which you have a conversation with somebody, starting with rapport and building up, the emotional empathy and the curiosity of different good questions up front, then to finally talk a little bit about what you do, and then also collaborate at the end and talk about budget later in the conversation when you've built the right, built the respect and trust. And then you ask finally when you have the right to ask that kind of question. So it's all about placement. It's about great questions and the right placement of that and the right cadence of it all. It's a simple thing to do. It just takes the training to do it. And then once that's the case, pretty soon you're just, hey, I got a new salesperson, send them through. Good, great. Now go out and sell. Fine, go. They're fully equipped. They get the confidence. At the end of the day, all we sell is confidence. And systems and processes bring confidence to the table. And that's one thing that most, and myself included in the very beginning, were scared to death of, because I thought I'd be handcuffed to doing the same thing over and over again. And eventually I am doing the same thing over and over, but I'm not handcuffed because the result is consistent. That's the big thing. You can predict what it's going to do.
Awesome. No, I love that because, and so basically, Joshua, what you're saying is you're more concerned about what the structure looks like and the process is, not as much on the specific finesse of the individual that may be doing the selling. There are some things that they have to, maybe some, or are there any natural abilities that this person must have, or do you think it's more towards, all right, these processes and the structure?
Hunger. You got to be hungry. If you're lazy or dabble or just kind of put one toe in, don't waste your time. Go buy something else. Go buy a boat. There's no point. Seriously, it's the same way with life. I mean, most people aren't going to own a business if that's their MO. But, if you have sales staff or whatever, and you just kind of screw around, it's not really going to be a good fit. Now, if they're hungry, if they're either commission based or they're just hungry people in general, or hungry for growth or understanding or learning, that's a no-brainer. I mean, they will grab on and go because they have something to prove. They've got, something bigger going on. And that's really becomes the conduit in order to express that, through the sales and being able to help people. I think deep down, all humans want to help people. They all have different ways of doing it. And I believe that 99.9% of humans are going to be great salespeople when they stop selling and start helping people. So when you flip that script in your head, we've had, hundreds of students come through, and it's incredible how you see them come in on week one. And we do a lot of role play too, which makes people sweat their ass off, right? So they get in there and it's like, all right, well, they do the online, there's online training first, and then they come into live class so we can lock in what we've learned. And that's the goal, right? Because I want to make sure that it's not just something you philosophically understand, but it's something you can actually take to the street and transform your life and your business. This isn't just for sales. This is in life too. There's so many things that we teach within our program for that. But they come in and the first week is almost always the same. Like, oh, I've never done role play outside of the bedroom before. So how do I do this? You know what I mean? So it's like, oh goodness, like what's going on? And they sweat a little bit. And by week 2 or 3, they got quite used to it. But that's how you build that. If you want anything in life, you're going to have to get into the uncomfortable zone in order to grow. If you're comfortable, you're going to get stuck there and somebody's going to leapfrog your ass in no time. You got to consistently stay uncomfortable and learn new things. And this is a great environment for that. And we have a ton of fun with new people coming through and just to watch them light up from week 1 to week 7. And it's like, wow, the difference in human, it's crazy.
Wow.
Very nice.
And I know you said that there's not like a script for people to go off of. It's more authentic. But is there certain elements that they do have to, hit in order to have that engaging and productive conversation with the client?
There is. Yeah, there's three. We call it the three acts that are within our conversation. So I'm gonna back this out a little bit further to the 30,000 foot view, and then I'm gonna dial in a piece. So the 30,000 foot out view, there's a 4-step process that we teach. So the first step is about the initial call. That's the call coming into the office, typically made by what we call the bird dog. If there's a relationship, husband, wife, whatever, usually it's the most excitable one makes that phone call because finally one of them said, "You can do it." And like, okay, I'm going to call whoever I can, right? They get all excited and they make the call. They have no budget. It doesn't matter. Money doesn't matter because the person you aren't talking to, the one in the background, the other counterpart, we call the banker. So the bird dog and the banker, right? So bird dog calls, they have a good time. Everybody's excited about it. So you get one side of the story. So that's the initial call. Then we send out a questionnaire. And again, on our process, we have all this made for you. You can work with ours. You can adjust it, whatever. And the first call is it's framed, but it's not extremely rigid. Let's put it that way. Then like I said, the questionnaire is in there. We want to know if they're willing to do a little homework that benefits them, right? If you say, "Look, I require a questionnaire in order to move to the next step," how likely do you think your client's going to say, "Yes, I'd love being mandated or required to do things"? Nobody likes that crap. But when they can see, again, what's the big question? What's in it for me? When they can see that, hey guys, look, we found we get the very best results for our clients when they take 10 to 15 minutes and give us a little bit more information about their project. So to make sure that when we design this space for you, that we knock it out of the park. So can you guys have that back to me by Monday so we can keep this process moving forward? Boom. We get 95% of them back. So it's a screen, and it's also a great way to collect a ton of information. Information you'll need for your design and build process. So that's step 2. Step 3 is going to be your discovery call. Now we're still in the office. We haven't left the office yet. That's where we take about a 20-minute dive with a client, and we go through a structured conversation. So to Carla's question earlier, we have 3 acts within that conversation. The first is all about asking them incredibly good questions and being quiet, because they don't care about you. They care about themselves. People just want to hear themselves speak, right? And this is a big mistake that a lot make, especially when building rapport. They want to just talk all about themselves. The contractor does, because they think that they're building a rapport with a client by telling them all about it. The problem is the client doesn't care. All the client wants is to be heard and understood. So ask great questions, keep your mouth shut. We have them all listed out for you, nice and simple. Go through things like obviously building the rapport side of things, going through hot button, getting all their ideas. You know how they come to you with like 15 different ideas for their backyard or whatever. One of those things is going to be more important than the rest of them. Let's figure out which one it is. And then they'll center our design around that one thing that we're most motivated to buy. Why waste the time on the other 14 that they probably won't? Or maybe they're just, additional to that. And then we'll go through a couple of other steps, figure out if anybody else is actually bidding on the project, where they are in their process, just by asking big questions. And then we get in what's called life effect. What does the space have to look and feel like for success? Let's figure out what that means. All these things, we're mining information. We're mining information from the client, because it's not information just to make us, whatever, in some way, being able to, manipulate them. It's about now we can serve them best because we know what they're looking for. We know what it has to look and feel like, what we're thinking about, like all that. We can all develop that into a design. And then we'll go through act 2. Now it's where we stop asking questions and we say, basically, all right, I heard all about your project. Here's what we do. Here's what we are. Here's what we are not. Here's the 3 things that our ideal clients struggle with. Here's how we solve them. And here's what this means for you. And then once we go through that, next step is to go through budget. And we do it in a very lighthearted way. And we guarantee you'll get budget in 3 easy steps every single time before you ever leave your office. And if that budget doesn't line up with their hot buttons, the things they want, the life effect, what it should look and feel like, why are you going out? Real simple. If they want $150,000 worth of work, things in their backyard, and their budget's $30,000 to $75,000, why? And if it's a rigid number, 75 is the rigid side, and we'll teach you how to have all those conversations. But if it is, then there's no point. Or maybe they have a $300,000 budget, but they only need 150. I don't know. They don't know. They're just pulling numbers out of the air. They don't know what the hell this stuff costs, especially now. So we have to guide them through that process by holding their hand and showing them. But there's a 3-step process we do with every single one of our clients, and we teach all of our students how to do it. So they get budget over the phone. make sure they have that. And it's an honest budget, which is the nice part about it, because we nestle it further back in the conversation. So once we have that set, we figure out what it's going to cover, if they're going to phase the project. Then we get their commitment, both of them. Now, the discovery call for projects that are over 25,000, where we have a design involved and all of that, we require, I say require, but we don't say it. We have better wording for it, but we want both of the decision makers on that call. Because think about it, guys. I'm married. So the last time that, I spent $100,000 without my wife knowing about it, it hasn't happened yet, right? Because I'd be sleeping outside, right? You think that there's going to be any difference when the bird dog and the banker, when they're not together? You think there's going to be a different conversation? So we like them both to be together on that conversation, and we phrase it in a way that gets them both there, and then we have a conversation with them both. So if they're going to fight like cats, let's do it on the phone. If one wants to pull and one wants to deck, and they both don't come off their stumps, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I want. Well, why don't you guys, marriage counseling costs a lot more than what I'm charging you for this. So why don't you guys work that out first and then call me back? Instead of going out and having that on a call after you just spent $5-6 in gas, per gallon, and then drive out there to have this confrontation or this disconnect out there. So let's do it on the phone. And then at the end, this is a zinger. We absolutely want everybody in our industry to be charging for design, whether it's $25 or $25,000. I don't care. We say at least $100 an hour is what you should be charging for your design work. We make sure that they're both on board with what that could cost. And we get both of them to say yes. And if they don't say yes, then we let them stew on it for a while and get back to us until they do, because that's our next step. We go out for our discovery meeting, which is step 4. We're expecting to come out, have a conversation, and to collect our design fee or deposit and move on to phase 2 or step 2. And if they're not willing to do that, why are we leaving? Why are we going out? I'm telling you.
Yeah.
So that's our process in a nutshell. And we teach you all that and mindset that goes with all those things as well.
I think that's a great process. But I know for probably some of our listeners here, they probably have some questions or some hesitations when it comes to probably the questionnaire part. Do you get a lot of pushback by saying, Joshua, I don't want to send this out. They're never going to get back to me. And then maybe I'm going to lose this opportunity. What do you have to say on that end?
No, that's a very good question, Carla, because it is something that a lot of students, and some of them, I'm going to go sideways with this one a little bit. Some of them say, I'm just going to put it on my website. I'm just going to put my questionnaire on the website. They can fill it out. And if they do, then I'll call them. I say that's wrong. Don't do it that way, because they're transactionally filling it out. They're not thinking anything more about that. Having that initial call with them first and then introducing them to that questionnaire is what we feel is the best way to build the relationship you need to be able to guide them to the next step. Not just be like, fill it out and I'll deal with you as a number like the rest of them are doing, right? So having that call first, getting that questionnaire. Now, like I mentioned earlier, it's how you phrase what the questionnaire actually does for them. That's the most important part. Carla, if you say, I require the questionnaire to go to step 2, you're not going to get many back. But when you word it like I did before and you show them the value in it for them to do work for themselves so you can do a better job for them, who wouldn't fill that out that actually wants you to do the work? If they just want a warm body to show up, they're not going to fill out a questionnaire. Good. It's a filter. Let those people go to the lowest bidder somewhere else. The guy that'll be out of business in a year. Let them go there. There's no point. That's not you. You want to be paid what you're worth. You want to do amazing work and you want to impact the world in a positive way. And you can't do that with people that are only focused on numbers. Is that simple?
I love that. And what about for the people that say, hey, Josh, I want to go out there and meet them in person. I feel that I'm a better salesman when I'm face to face with these people. I don't want to make this call, do everything over the phone until you get to that phase 2.
What would I say to that? It's funny because I'd be looking at myself in the mirror 10 years ago if I answer that question. Because I thought out of 8 billion people on the planet, they called me. That means I have to go out. Like, what would they say if I didn't go out? Would they write me a bad review? Would they tell their neighbors? If it was a referral, would they call up and say, Cindy, he won't even come out because he wants to have a conversation with me first. He wants to get to know me before he comes out. I'm like, oh no, I just got to run right out there. It was, hey, it's Wednesday. I'll be out Saturday. First one to the bid, right? You want to be the first one on the job. That was always the game. Right. No, I call bullshit on all of that. Your clients that really want you to do the work, they'll be willing to wait. That's the bottom line there. And when it comes to having a conversation, we see it day in and day out. And I still do sales calls, right? Which I still love doing that and staying connected to our clients, even though the team takes care of everything else. I still love doing that part. I still love going out and having the calls. What I hear constantly, guys, from my clients, and this is clients that spend 30,000 up to half, 3/4 plus million. Like it doesn't really matter. Like in the whole frame of things, it's really not a scale thing. Wow, we've never been asked that question before. Holy moly, we never thought of it that way before. Wow, I have to think about that. That's what it's about. It's not about trying to make things more difficult for them. It's about helping unlock the potential of the project in their mind. That's really what it is. And if they're just calling you up for a 10 by 12 patio, well, first of all, you shouldn't be doing those projects, because if they already know what they want and they're telling you what they want, then it's a transaction. And transactional selling is always going to be the race to the bottom. It's just what it is. If you really want to transform people's lives and do amazing outdoor living spaces, you're going to have to stay away from those people, because for some reason they got that 10 by 12 in their head. And you know damn well that a 10 by 12 is nothing more than a grill and maybe a little chair. I wouldn't exactly call that outdoor living. And if you want to stay in that zone, you'll be there forever. But if you want to break those chains and grow into something big, start doing not even big in volume. It's more about doing things that really light you up in the morning. It's going to take having a deeper conversation with a client. And you're going to have to do that from step one, because you're setting expectations. If your client calls you and you're knee deep in the mud laying pavers, and you pick up the phone because your office line is your cell phone, you're like, "Hey, Mrs. Jones, how you doing?" She's like, "Oh, great. Can you come out and take a look in my backyard?" "Absolutely. I'll be out Saturday." Click. That's what most do, right? It's a simplified version of what most people do for screening. Like, they have a pulse, they have a checkbook, we're good. And they wonder why they keep running their heads against the wall. They wonder why they don't get the clients that they want, because they're just too needy, right? Clients will dig deeper in their pocketbook for process. When they feel a process and a professionalism that comes with your offering, they're going to dig deeper, because you're going to stand out amongst your competition, because everybody else is sitting there slinging pavers and picking up phones on the job site. One of the first things we teach our students: go to Craigslist, not Angie's List, but Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace, whatever. Go in your old drawer, find a cell phone, right? Take that cell phone, chain it to your desk at your office or your house, wherever the hell you work out of. Call AT&T or Verizon, whoever is your carrier. Put in like a family line, $15 a month. Every single piece of advertising that you do goes to that phone. You have your personal cell phone and you have your business line. You then let everything go there, and you schedule 2-3 times a week to sit down and get those voicemails and respond to your clients. Now, that voicemail has to be a bit colorful, because clients don't necessarily want to be waiting forever. So you say, "Guys, look, we're out transforming a family's backyard right now. We cannot wait to hear about your project. So please leave us a message. We'll get back to you within 24 to 48 hours. We can't wait to talk to you about your transformation." Okay. So the next thing you know, they leave that message. You get back, and maybe Tuesdays and Thursdays, 4 to 6, you take those calls, and off you go. You make your calls. You put that sales hat back on. You've taken your mud boots off from the field. You put your sales hat on. Your mind is there, and you just have a couple conversations with people. You schedule it. Now you start feeling like a real business, not some gunslinger out there throwing pavers at the grass. That's how you're going to get more money. That's how you're going to take your business to the next level and do outdoor living, and not just paver patios that don't fulfill you.
Very nice. Absolutely. And, so Joshua, if anyone wanted to reach out, in regard to, some of the things that you can do to help them in regard to sales, what is the best way that they can do so?
Yeah, so they can take a look on Facebook. We have a Facebook page, S Express. They can take a look there, the business page. We also have a podcast. It's called Outer Spaces. It's anywhere podcasts are. So Dwayne Drawn and I from Chicago, we get together and we talk to industry professionals, and we have a great time just unlocking a lot of crazy stuff and talking about mindset and sales and design and all that stuff. So it's called Outer Spaces. Also have a website. It's yes.express. So yeah, yes.express, no.com in there. You can take a look. Some of our programs are listed there with some of the details, but yeah, that's how you can find us. It's the best ways.
Fantastic. And is there any last information you want to leave the audience with here?
I do. Right now being springtime, I want to drop this nugget on you. If you guys are out there and you get clients that start complaining about price, right? Because they're getting a lot of bids, springtime, that's what they're trained to do. There's only 3 levers you can pull to change price. And I want you to institute this in your business today. Only 3 levers. If your bid that you're going to give your clients is $10,500 and you take it in there and Mrs. Jones says, oh, can you do it for 10,000 cash? Or can you do it for $10,000? Here's your response. From now on, this is what it'll be. Mrs. Jones, no problem. There's 3 ways we can adjust the price. One is that, the demo we have to do, take out some shrubs, or the concrete has to take off, you have to take it out, or the deck has to be removed. If you take care of that ahead of time, we can drop the demo off the bill and then we can get started right after and go. That's one way to drop the cost. Second is, which of the features that I have in my proposal, which one could you live without? We could take one off and that'll bring the price down too. Or the third way is, maybe we're going to do a walkway, a paver walkway to the front door. Maybe that's part of this package. How would you like concrete instead? Concrete will definitely bring the price down. Those are the only 3 ways. Either some sweat equity, they're going to change the scope, or they're going to change materials. You will never from now on go out there and discount your price to Mrs. Jones, because when you do, you break trust. Let's think what Mrs. Jones is thinking. If I didn't ask for that discount, and he did give me, say you did give him the $500 off, made it 10,000 clean. Imagine Mrs. Jones is thinking, man, if I didn't ask, I would have just got taken for $500. And then imagine when she adds things to this project, as she probably will, maybe some lighting, things like that. As soon as you give her a price of $2,500, will you take $2,000 instead? You're training her on how to do business with you. Don't do that. Don't do that. She's still got to say yes. Don't do that. Especially if you're starting out. I know how hungry some of you guys were. I've been that hungry too. I've been hungry many, many times, and I've done dumb things like this. This is exactly why I'm bringing that to your attention. And if she says to you, your price is too high, here's what you ask her. Compared to what? And just be silent and let her speak next. Who knows? Maybe 10 years ago, she got a proposal for this project. They've changed in 10 years, but in her mind, it's still more. So compared to what? It's non-confrontational, and you do it out of curiosity, and you're going to be amazed by the kind of responses you get. It's amazing. It really is. And if she gives you a budget and says, look, in the very beginning, I got $20,000 to spend. That's how much I want to spend in this project. You're like, okay, cool. Great. Like, what does that even mean? Like, what is it supposed to cover? Like, what is everything? Is it some of the stuff? Is it phased? Or like, what is it? Simple question. Mrs. Jones gives you a $20,000 budget. You simply say, what do you hope that will cover? Silence. Let her talk. And she will say everything, or everything we talked about. Could you be more specific, please? Let her talk. They will talk, and they will tell you everything you need to know. And you got to be thinking, will 20,000 cover what she's really trying to do? Or is it too little or way too much? Simple little details like that will get you a long way by just asking simple questions out of the state of curiosity. And that's where you're going to be able to serve your clients better and also safeguard your time. So that's what I got for you today.
Very nice, Joshua. Well, I hope everyone has been taking notes like I was, and thank you for sharing all of these things with us here, and thank you for your time.
Yeah, thanks.
I certainly appreciate it, Carla and Joe. It's been a pleasure being on, and I hope some of this drops on somebody and it helps them today, tomorrow, and their life in general. We're just here to help. So any way we can help you guys, if you're curious about what we do, reach out. Love to chat. See if we can guide you, at least see what you're doing and see if we can help.
I'm sure it will.
Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.